Hi everybody, it's Shadi Away. Um, I'm going to talk to you about some experiences that I've had recently. I was recently institutionalized because while I was sick with bronchitis, I was losing my medication for my diagnosis of bipolar disorder. I actually figured out that I have bipolar disorder 1, where you have several manic episodes and several kind of down-sloping depressive episodes. So, just to clear up what kind of bipolar disorder I am type 1. So I was institutionalized for a few days because I started hallucinating and having suicidal ideations, which are suicidal thoughts. And my hallucinations were very loud auditory hallucinations, and they were hallucinations that were directed towards people that I cared about, and hurting the people that I cared about and hurting myself. So I was very taken aback by that. I haven't had hallucinations for about a year, so starting to have those come back was a big was a big impact on my life because I haven't had them for so long. Another thing was I experienced discrimination while I was inpatient at the hospital. Obviously, I wear hijab, and it's a clear indicator to most people who are not living under a rock that I am Muslim. And one of the staff members, while I was on the phone, was very insistent that I get off the phone, that my time was up. And I was on the phone with my 5-year-old, and trying to explain to a 5-year-old that you have a time limit on the phone is really hard and really complicated, and so I was really affected. And when I finally was able to get off the phone with my son, I made it a point to point out to the individual that there were much kinder ways to have gone about the situation. And I expressed that I was talking to my 5-year-old son, and made him aware that nobody was in queue for the phone, so you could have cut me a little slack. And went and reported my grievance to the proper authorities, which was the patient advocate. I wasn't able to get in touch with them until I was outpatient, but I know that they're going to pursue an investigation upon this person and the situation and look into the possibility of removing this person, because if I were to become inpatient again, I would feel that the environment was hostile. And ensuring the comfort of the patients is kind of the key for that hospital. And so they're very taken aback by my grievance, and kind of just in shock. Another thing that happened, which was after I was outpatient and had to start school again, I had a panic attack. The panic attack was induced by me just listening to what was going on in the news about the government shutdown and how it will affect various parts of my life. I'm a veteran. I did serve in the United States Marine Corps for almost 6 years, and was medically retired. And so it was USA.gov was talking about benefits for school and benefits for retirees and disabled members possibly being waylaid. And that kind of sent me into a very distressing spiral downward, because all of my VA benefits pay for my cost of living. They pay all my bills, they pay my mortgage on my house, and they are basically the major supporters of my family. So if you're wondering, yes, I am kind of the breadwinner of my household, because my retirement and my GI Bill benefits are greater than what my husband's income is. I don't think he is a lesser man because of it. I just happened to be in a situation where I get more money, and it doesn't seem to bother him, and it really doesn't seem to bother me. And I know that any money that he makes, he uses to support the family and support me and kind of accommodate for any losses. So there's that. So I was frantically trying to figure out job situations, and everyone's telling me, you need to relax, you need to calm down, because this thing might blow over before any of that becomes an issue. And in doing more research into what USA.gov said about benefits and stuff, those who are kind of grandfathered in, meaning that they already are receiving benefits, should not be affected, which kind of eased my mind a little bit. I'm still kind of fearful, because if there's not a budget for various programs and institutions, then it leads me to believe that the money eventually will stop coming. And, everybody knows that on October 17th, we are either going to be bankrupt or we're going to raise the debt ceiling, which means that the government is going to borrow more money. I personally will not vocalize my opinion on what I think should happen, because to each his own, but I'm just really kind of anxious to have this whole thing be over with. I'd rather have an answer than be in limbo. Another thing that occurred just the other day, yesterday, and I'm recording this on Thursday, is on Wednesday, my first class is sociology, and we were going to be discussing the government shutdown. And I was participating in the discussion, and I was being very civil. I'm a very passionate person when it comes to various topics, but I reserved myself and my passion, and was very adamant about how I felt the situation was going, and brought in evidence and vocalized what has been said to the class, rather than just talking about my personal views. I was putting out my personal views, but I was backing them up with evidence instead of just flying off the cuff and saying whatever I felt. Eventually this led into a discussion of religion, And the discussion of religion was that the United States needed to go back to its roots and become a Christian nation. I'm a Muslim, but I am really well versed in history and religion and a lot of other things, because I've studied religion since the age of 12, which was when I was in junior high school. My history teacher was also a PE teacher, but he was a very good history teacher. He did not impress any personal beliefs that he had. He was very open-minded. And so it really made me an open-minded individual, and really made me seek out truths about religion and history. And, you know, the argument was made that our founding fathers were Christian-based, and that we needed to go back to Christian doctrine to enforce law. My argument was that the founding fathers were not all Christian. If anyone knows their history, Ben Franklin was an atheist. He was also a philanderer and a womanizer. So he signed the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So how is that founding father a Christian? I'm kind of confused. I didn't bring this up in class because I was waiting for an opportune time to speak, but the discussion was put to an end because of my personal struggle and turmoil, and being bombarded with all of this kind of forceful Christian doctrine being pushed at me. Once I made the statement that the founding fathers were not Christian-based, that the country was not formulated off of solely Christian thought and theory, I was told that I was wrong, and that the Salem witch trials was a prime example that I was wrong. And if we look back in history, we can see the Salem witch trials was an isolated incident. It did not happen across the colonies. It was isolated to Winston-Salem. And it was also a position of placing fear in people in order to gain power and property, which is seen throughout history. So obviously this tactic that was used in Salem was not a new tactic. Enforcing fear through religion in order to maintain property or to gain property and power was the entire purpose of the Salem witch trials. It had nothing to do with the country solely being a Christian-based country. It had to do with an isolated group trying to maintain order and power. So there's your little history lesson about Salem. And the reason why I'm making this video is because these are things that I struggle with every day. As a Muslim and as a person who suffers with bipolar disorder, I was very afflicted by this conversation, this discussion that we had in class. I literally broke down into tears. And I sit in the front row, and so I can't see what my peers are doing. I can only see the instructor and kind of to my left and to my right in my peripheral. And one of the people who was to my left was making the argument that Christianity should be enforced by law, and that would make any other religion, any other type of worship other than Christianity, a deviant act, and therefore making those people lesser citizens, and I think that's wrong. Like, I served my country, and a lot of other Muslims serve their country, and they don't serve it for that purpose. They know that Christianity is not the sole religion of this nation. It's never been, and it never will be. So that argument needs to be put to rest. Like, there are people who would probably say that the fact that our money, our coined money and our bill money, saying "in God we trust," indicates that we are a Christian-based nation, and that is not true. The currency was not developed until way after the founding fathers had passed on. Currency used to look a lot different and didn't necessarily say "in God we trust," because it was a very big separation of church and state for a long time prior to, I would say, like, the boom of Christianity in the nation, which would have been around World War I, World War II, which is when currency really started to show a religious standpoint. I'm not really sure about that, because, currency used to be larger. It used to be in sheets, just like the euro used to be in bigger sheets and stuff like that. Currency has changed and become smaller, and coin currency has become smaller, even because of, just wanting to minimize, like, how billfolds are, and just kind of shrink up and make it more compact. Not all the dollar bills say "God we trust," and not all coins say "God we trust." So, the argument could go either way. And I'm sorry that this video tends to be about, my struggles as a Muslim and my struggles as a person suffering with bipolar. But I don't get any feedback, so I kind of just go and talk about what I know, and what I know is my life. And maybe my life is interesting to people, but for me, it's very nerve-wracking and very emotional. And I really don't like talking about myself. I really, like, my therapy sessions are very dull, because I really don't talk. I think it has to do with the way I was brought up, where you don't talk about your problems. And I'm trying to grow out of that, obviously, because I'm using YouTube as a form of therapy, so that I can talk these situations out and vocalize them. It's like writing in a journal. This is like a journal entry, but it's a journal entry that other people can view and kind of relate to, have some sympathy or compassion towards. And yeah, that's pretty much why I do this. And I'd like to know, seriously, like, how other people's lives are, because I feel like mine just continues to get more and more intense with the struggles and trials that I have to face in life. Like, I never thought about how ignorant some of the people in my class would be. Like, when I got upset, I was upset at the ignorance of others. I wasn't upset about what they were saying so much as how ignorant they were, like how little they understood the subject matter that they were bringing up, how little they understood of history. Like, did you not pay attention in history class when things were discussed? Like, I'm just, it boggles my mind and really distresses me and really makes me feel sad and afflicted, because I would hope and I would think that all of the people who I consider to be peers in class or in life would be well informed, and to have them not be well informed and well rounded individuals who are open for discussion really, I'm taken aback by, because I have spent so much of my life searching for truth and searching for evidence and looking for that uh, answer to the question of, like, what's the meaning of life and things of that nature. Like, what is the significance of history if we do not investigate it and understand it to its fullest? Like, I'm just really dumbfounded. Like, because I'm such an inquisitive person, and I remember when I was a child, we lived in Carson in a rental home, and I remember asking my neighbor, like, why he trimmed his hedges so often, and bombarding him with all these inquiring questions. And he said, why do you ask so many questions? Do you know that's going to get you into trouble? And I never really understood why he said that. Like, I was probably about 6 years old. So, like, the world and how it functioned was still new to me. I hadn't hit the age of reason. And, I was inquisitive. And most children are. They constantly ask why. Because they're so desperate to understand why situations are the way they are and why we do things in a particular order, why there are rules that they have to follow, and things of that effect. And it wasn't until I got older that I really understood that being inquisitive wasn't something bad. It was actually something very good, because it made me into a very open-minded individual. It led me to some great people and some great understandings and concepts of life. If I never asked the question why, would I ever truly understand what was going on in the world around me? Like, it's so important to understand why the world functions the way it does. And for a 6-year-old to be inquisitive and to grow up continually being inquisitive, I'm really proud of. Like, I'm proud that even at the age of 6, I need to question things. And to continue to question things, not just to go into things blindly. I wonder if any of you are struggling with someone saying, why do you ask so many questions? Because it's really important to ask questions. It's really important to be inquisitive and to inquire into truth and to find answers. Because if there is no answer, there's no purpose in doing that particular act. Like, it seems kind of fruitless. You know, being a Muslim, the truth that we're faced with is that, you know, the divine plan is that you surrender and worship God, and that is your purpose in life, and that He will bless you for that. And He'll bless you in this life and in the next life. And, you know, that doesn't mean that you won't be tested. Your faith won't be tested. You won't face trials and tribulations, because that is the stigma of human existence, is to be tried and tested. Because blind faith alone is not faith at all. You know, God or Allah, whatever you choose to call him or her, you know, Allah is kind of a gender-free word, whereas God and Goddess are assigned gender. But whatever you believe is meant to be tested, meant to be questioned and analyzed. Because if you just go into it blindly without ever investigating as to the reasons for various ritual practices, then what's the point? Like, I'm not the perfect Muslim. I make every effort consciously to pray 5 times a day, but I struggle with that. And that is one of the requirements of a Muslim. It's one of the 5 pillars, is to pray 5 times a day. And with the medications that I'm on, and with my disorder, with school, and with a child and a husband, and somehow, some way, time gets away from me. And I miss prayer. But I try to pray as often as I can, and I ask God to forgive me for not meeting the grade, because I know this is a struggle I'm going to face with, like, each and every day. But when I am able to pray, it's the most peace that I've ever felt. It's the most serene, tranquil moment of my day. And I feel like the weight of the world is lifted from me. And I think that's how prayer should be. And I think that no matter what religious background that you come from, that if you don't feel the weight of the world lifted off of you when you worship, when you pray, that something is wrong. Something is integrally wrong, because you should feel relaxed and at peace. That should be a time of serenity and tranquility. And I believe everybody deserves that. So, we've discussed my struggles while inpatient, while a student, and just in general life, being a Muslim and being bipolar. A thing that was brought up to me while I was inpatient is that a lot of Muslims don't go to mental institutions, and you know, I kind of laugh about it because um, there's two viewpoints: that you should be seeking refuge in God to save you from whatever mental turmoil or emotional turmoil you're facing. But my perspective is that God has given you resources to utilize, so why not utilize them? Like, God gave man the knowledge to treat mental illness and to combat it and to create environments where people could be safe. So why wouldn't you go? And so I just found it humorous, but a lot of Muslims see mental illness as like a punishment from God. And I don't see mental illness as a punishment from God. I see it as a trial to test my faith. I don't see it as a punishment. I don't feel like I'm being punished. I feel like my faith is just being tested more than, another believer, because I have the strength to do that. And it really pains me that, there are Muslims out there who do not see mental illness as a treatable thing, that it is a punishment by God for sins committed by that individual, and that it's an embarrassment, that it's something to be hidden or denied. As a Muslim and as a free-thinking individual, I find this ludicrous. And if you are Muslim and suffer from any sort of mental illness, don't think you're alone, and please seek out help, because that is what I believe God would want. If the trials you're facing are too much, He would want you to seek help, seek guidance. And He has put those things in place in this world for you. So utilize them. If you're afraid, pray about it. Pray for Him to grant you peace and serenity so that you can go and face this problem, face this trial, this test of your faith. But don't look at it as a punishment, because it is not a punishment. It is a test of your faith to see if you will believe in God no matter what comes at you. And I've been bipolar for a long time now, and I've never seen my disorder as a punishment by God. I've just seen it as a trial in my life that I have to overcome. And I try and face it every day. And I know I'm not alone. I know that there are other people who are facing the same scenarios or trials in their life. So I try and keep faith in that I'm not alone, and I will never be alone. That there are others who have come before me and will come after me who will be in the same position where they are tested as human beings. And I'm just gonna say that I hope and I pray for each and every one of you that you have a good day, a good week, a good month, a good year, whatever, that your days are easy and that you find what grants you peace. Because when you find it, you never want to let go. And as much as I was ridiculed yesterday, I still believe in my faith. I'm still strong in my faith, and I feel sorry for those who are not aware of the lack of knowledge they have. It saddens me, and I feel sorry for them. And that is what made me cry. It wasn't that I was being bombarded with all this negative energy. It was just, I was so distraught that so many people could be so ignorant and be in college of all places, to be in an institution of higher learning. That was really distressing and really disheartening. And it just woke me up to the place that I live as being a society of people who are lacking education, lacking the knowledge of other cultures, lacking the knowledge of history, and just lacking the intuitive nature of the things they say, like how things they say impact others. Just that really hurt. And I sat down with my professor of that sociology class and had a really long discussion about how class went and how affected I was. And she said, you know what, you weren't alone. There were other people who agreed with you, and all I can say is, why didn't they speak up? If they truly disagreed with what was being said, why didn't they speak up? I was the only one who spoke up. And I don't claim to know everything, but I refuse to buy into things that are fallacies, things that are faulty, that lack evidence. So, with that being said, and this being a very deep discussion into my world, I hope you have a pleasant day, and I'm sorry that this recording is happening so late, but I wanted to wait until I was in a much calmer mental and emotional state to talk with y'all. I'll probably be recording again this weekend, so you will get 2 videos this week instead of just one. But I thought I'd throw this out there for you all to see, because, like I said, if any of my videos touch one person in the slightest, it's worth it. And I thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks.